Hello, Whiskers! Welcome to the start of a brand new series. Within this book are chronicled all the stories that we've known and loved since before we can quite remember, but told a little bit differently. Our modern versions of the stories are safe mode, and these stories are not that. These are the stories in not quite their original format, but as they were first documented, as close as possible to the original of the time. So these are all fairy tales set in the mythical once upon a time, because some of these stories are older than time itself. The story of Cinderella, for example, is said to have dated back before ancient Egypt. So our idea of medieval castles is just because that was the first time anybody bothered to write them down. And the men who bothered to write them down are known as the Brothers Grimm. Jacob and Wilhelm Grimm were scholars of German folklore, and they were the first to try to write down these stories which had been passed on by oral traditions for years and years. And they wrote them just as they were. They wrote them in Low German, which was what most of the population spoke. They wrote them without trying to extrapolate some sort of messages or influences or trying to clean it up. They didn't look for any morality. They didn't try to evaluate. They made no improvements. They wrote the stories as they were told, and this is what we have today. Translated and probably cleaned up a little bit, but those stories as they were told, a capsule in time. And because it's a capsule in time, a window into another world, these stories might seem uncomfortable to our sensibilities. They're not from our world. They're not for our time. This was a different time. Modern ideas such as that children should be protected, that children are valuable, and that the outside world is a safe place is something not mentioned in these stories. Every stepmother is traumatized because her husband died probably a week ago and she's been married into this new family and she had no choice in the matter. Individualism, modern idea. The idea that Jews are people too, not something they had in this time. So we need to approach these stories from where they were, as well as look at how they've changed, what the message was and what the message is now, and what that tells us about how society has adapted over time. So I will be retelling these stories and then assuming you know the modern favorites, and then we're going to try to extrapolate a message, a morality, do evaluation of the stories, because the Brothers Grimm have already done all the hard work of writing them down, of getting the truth. And now we're going to play with these texts. We're going to play with the old version, the oldest version we have, and the modern version, and see how it sticks. So we are both going to judge these stories within the context of their own time, and also with the lens of modernity, post-modernity, wherever the hell we're going to be next. And look at them and look at what are the morals teaching and what did that mean about the people of that time. What might we have gained since then, and what was lost by the change of the stories? What did they used to teach people through oral tradition, and what are we teaching children today? These are the questions I want to answer, and I hope you will join me in this journey. So look out for the series. This is going to be the first one. Next week I'll do the next one. So check out the playlist. And every so often we'll add to these stories to look at what morality has done and how stories have changed. I'm really excited to do this series, and I hope you guys will take the journey with me into once upon a time in a land far away. So look out for next week.